So we're going to ignore our little friends that are, behind our ears because they keep wanting to come out and say hello, but we're just going to ignore them. Okay, friends? If you could stop saying hello, that'd be great. Hello, my beautiful friends, and welcome back to my channel. So guys, today we are back, and we are back with another boy talk. You all seem to absolutely love my last one, and I got a lot of messages asking me to do another one, and I really want to do another one anyways. So that's what we're going to be doing today, and I'm really excited because you guys came through with the questions. Yous came through. I also really want to do like a girl version of this video, so like girl talk or whatever you want to call it. So if you have any questions that you would like me to include in a girl talk, please do leave them down in the comment section below, as I will definitely be taking some questions from there as well. So guys, before we dive on into this video, please don't forget to smash a big thumbs up if you enjoy, and please subscribe down below if you haven't already, and please hit the little bell so you get notified every time I upload, and please hit always, when you hit the little bell, hit all notifications, because otherwise you won't get them all, you'll only get some. So yeah, with all that said, let's just dive right on into the video. Oh, I'm so excited. I love filming these kinds of videos. I've got my notebook full of my questions here. Big ideas, you know. So the first question is, when is it too young to have a first kiss? What age were you? I was 14. I'm nearly sure. I was quite old compared to my friends. Like, I was like the latest one to have my first kiss. I was petrified to have my first kiss, like so afraid. I personally feel like if you're like 10, 11, 12, I feel like that's way too young to be having your first kiss, like a proper first kiss. I feel like at that age you shouldn't be even thinking about boys, like boys shouldn't even be coming into your head. I know myself anyways, right up until I was like 12 years of age, I was playing like with Bratz dolls. Do you know, like Barbie dolls but Bratz dolls? I was playing with them up until I was like 12, and I feel like when you're that age you shouldn't be thinking about boys. Like, you've so much time ahead of you. Like, you do not need to be getting in there any earlier than you have to be. Like, you've got loads of pain and heartbreak ahead of you. Like, don't be worrying about that. But I feel like the youngest would probably be like 13. That's just my personal opinion. But then again, like, each to their own. Like, obviously it's everybody's own decision and everybody's own choice. So yeah. So the next question is, what do you think about getting married young, like 21, 22? I personally, like, I wouldn't really have an opinion on it. Like, everybody, you know, each to their own. Like, if someone wants to get married at that age, like, go for it. I personally wouldn't get married that young, just because I don't see why you should feel like you need to rush into a marriage. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if you're in a very happy, committed relationship, like, you shouldn't feel like you need to rush into anything or like prove your committedness to each other, if that makes sense. So I don't see a problem with it. Sure, like back in the day, like, you know, our grandparents and all used to just get married like crazy young, and that used to be the way it always was. So I just think, like, if it's something you want to do, go for it, but I don't think you should ever get married young to try and like prove a point or try and prove that, you know, you do want to be with this person like for the rest of your life or whatever, if that's like, you know, what you want. Like, you know what I mean? Like, people do be in relationships for years and years and years and years before getting married, and I feel like when you're young, like, you know, especially that young, like 21, 22, like, you've so many things ahead of you, you know what I mean? So I personally think, like, you know, it would be better to just enjoy the time with that person and then maybe like think of getting married when you're like in your mid-20s or something. But again, everybody, each to their own, you know what I mean? So I was getting a lot of questions from you guys about trust, like a lot of questions. So 2 questions I kept getting asked in different wording was like, how can you know when you can trust a boy? Fear of players, like fear of fuck boys. And the other one was, how can you tell if a boy is worth your trust? So okay, so from my experience, I personally feel like, anyways, in the past, I feel like you always kind of know if you can trust somebody. I don't know if that's just me, but I feel like you know if you can trust someone. You get a gut feeling, and I know in the past with guys, I've got a gut feeling, you know, that something's wrong here, like nah, and I've gone against it, and I'm like, no, I can trust them, it's gonna be okay, and it wasn't okay. It never was okay when I got that gut feeling. So I do, even with friends, like, I always get that, like, I can just tell very quickly if I can trust somebody. And I feel like, as well, especially with guys, if they're like playing games and you're kind of like don't know what's going on, and they have you questioning them a lot, I feel like if they're doing any of that stuff, you definitely can't trust them. Because if somebody is like all over the place, like, you know what I mean, how can you trust someone like that? But I feel like if they're very straightforward with you and you kind of know where you stand with them, and you know, you will know, if that makes sense. And fear of players, like, I get you, girl. Oh, I get you, baby girl. I have a fear of players too, you know, like, been there, done that, worn the t-shirt, don't ever want to wear the t-shirt again. Like, and I know some players and some fuckboys are so good at hiding the fact that they are a player and are a fuckboy, you know, and convincing you otherwise. I think another sign would be if somebody's always like telling you how nice they are and trying to convince you of how much of a nice guy they are. Like, somebody shouldn't have to do that. Like, you know, if somebody's trying to convince you of how nice they are, or how trustworthy they are, or how loyal they are, I think that's a very bad sign, you know what I mean? Because if they were all those things, they wouldn't feel the need to, like, really, like, you know, keep on going on about it and trying to get you to convince them. But I feel like with trust, like, you know, after a couple of months you will 100% know, especially actions over words. Like, if what they're saying is adding up with what their actions, like if their actions and words line up, I think you could trust somebody, you know, because if they're saying something and they're doing it, you know, that says a lot. Like, you know, because you can talk the talk, but if you can't walk the walk, then you know what I mean? Like, you can say words all day, but if you can't do the actions to prove that you mean what you're saying, then they're just wasting your goddamn time. Have you ever had to lie about having an orgasm with your lover? Yes. I'm sorry, but like, is there any girl that hasn't? Okay, I feel like most guys, not all, because I hate like generalizing a whole gender, because that's not the way it is, like, no way. A lot of guys, I feel like, don't understand how long it can take a woman to orgasm. Like, they just don't. I feel like a lot of guys feel like a woman can orgasm as quick as a man can, you know what I mean? Because men can orgasm way faster than women. I feel like most guys just think like they literally just have to stick it in and you're gonna have an orgasm. Like, I'm not even joking you. I feel like as well, a lot of guys just don't have the patience or aren't really that bothered. Like, if they've orgasmed, they're not really bothered about spending the time to put in to make you orgasm, if you know what I mean. So yeah, I definitely have lied about that before, just because, like, you know, if someone doesn't want to do something, like, I'm not going to make them do it, you know what I mean? So, when did you meet your first proper boyfriend? So, quite a lot of you guys were asking when I met my first proper boyfriend. So I was actually like 14 going on 15. I was 1 week off turning 15, so I was pretty much 15. So yeah, and then I was with him for 2.5 years. What would you do if you came home and saw your boyfriend cheating on you? How would you react? Okay, so I'm going to take this as you mean I walk in and I physically see him with another woman, like, cheating on me. How would I react? If I'm being honest, like, if you want me to be completely honest here, you know, we could get honest. We can get very honest. I personally feel like I'd actually be quite calm in regards, I just tell her to get out. Like, I just be like, get out now, kind of a way. And I feel like once she left, I'd just be like to him, like, I don't ever want anything to do with you. Delete my number. Don't ever try and contact me again. Yada, yada, yada. Get your stuff and get out. I feel like I'd have that approach, especially if I saw something like that. And I feel like that would also be because I have been cheated on in the past. So, like, I have no tolerance for it. Like, and I've forgiven in the past for cheating. Whereas now I just wouldn't have any tolerance for it, because I've learned, even though, you know, I do think, you know, everyone deserves a second chance, but in my experience, cheaters don't change. Once a cheater, always a cheater. I've experienced that, you know, you forgive. They'll do it again and again and again. If someone can get away with something once, you know, they're going to do it again. So yeah, I think I just wouldn't even waste my time with that person. I'd just be like, honey, bye, honey boy. What's the hardest thing to hear that a boy has said to you and that you've had to accept? Okay. Oh God, the hardest thing would probably just be like, you know, I don't want to be with you anymore. Like, I don't love you anymore. I don't want to be with you, when you're still very much so in love with that person and you very much so still want to be with that person. That would definitely probably be the hardest thing I've ever had to hear and had to accept, because if someone doesn't want to be with you and they don't love you anymore, well, you can't make them, you can't change that, you can't force someone to do what they don't want to do. So yeah, that would definitely be the hardest one. What's the best way to transition from dating to being in a relationship? Oh God, that's a really hard question. That is a really hard question. I feel like this is such a hard question because I feel like it completely depends on the circumstances. So I feel like, you know, sometimes you could be dating someone and you don't know what's going on. There's a lot of games being played. You don't even know what they're thinking or how they feel. You've never talked about what you want or anything like that. And I feel like if that's the situation, it's very difficult to transition because, you know, you don't know how they feel. You don't know what they want. So I feel like if you're in that situation, the best way to do it would probably bring it up very casually, like, not like, so what are we? Or like, do you want a relationship? Now, don't do that. They will run a mile. Don't do that, because questions like that, I think, you know, would scare a lot of people. So I feel like the best way would kind of just be like, you know, very casually maybe just ask like what are you looking for, or like what do you want, like what exactly is it you want out of this, like kind of in a more casual way, like, because they could turn around and just say, oh, like, I'm not looking for a relationship, or I'm just looking for sex, or I am looking for a relationship, or you know what I mean. But I feel like unless you guys communicate it, like, you can't just transition without speaking about it. And then on the other hand, I feel like if you're dating someone and you know where you stand with them, and that you are being very straightforward with each other, and you kind of know what pages you are both on the same page, if you have spoken about what you want, like that you do want a relationship or whatever, like if you kind of know, you know, where you stand with each other, I feel like then the best way to transition would I feel like it wouldn't happen very naturally then. Like, I feel like if you both kind of are both on the same wavelength and have spoke about it, I feel like it will happen very naturally. But if you have spoke about it and you want to start this person to be your boyfriend, I would just go for it, bite the bullet, especially if you know that they do want a relationship. But if you're dating someone, like I was saying previous, where you don't know where you stand and you haven't a clue what they want, you need to speak about it first, and kind of see where they're at and see where their head's at, you know what I mean? And without doing that, you can't really transition, you know what I mean? If you don't know what they want and they don't know what you want, like, it's never going to transition, you know what I mean? So yes, everything was going good in the relationship, but he suddenly broke up with me. He said he wasn't ready, but I'm not convinced. Do you think this is a legit reason? No. Hell to the no. No, bullshit. I call BS. Bullshit. No, that's not a legit reason, especially if you're saying things were going very good and it was very sudden and he just said out of nowhere he wasn't ready. Like, I feel like, you know, things wouldn't have, if things were going good, that doesn't make any sense, you know what I mean? I feel like this is one of a few things. This could either be he's met someone else, or he's speaking to someone else, kind of a thing. This could either be he got scared, like petrified, and was like, I'm not ready to commit to somebody, I'm too young, I don't want this now, blah 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 blah. Okay, yeah, only I feel like it's one of them two things, because you know, you don't just wake up and change your mind overnight, like that doesn't happen, you know what I mean? So it's definitely one of them two things. And you know, especially young fellas, like, commitment scares a lot of young fellas, like scares the absolute crap out of them. But also, you know, he could have met someone else, so I would not believe that for 1 second, and I would not beat yourself up over that, because that is in no ways your fault. That just shows his immaturity, and it's in no ways a reflection of you. So don't feel like it's your fault or it's anything you've done. He's just not ready, or he's just a pure plain dickhead. Yeah. Thoughts on boys not wanting to buy condoms? I mean, it's their one responsibility. Can you say it louder for the people in the back? Can you say it louder for the people in the back? Yes, I completely agree. Well, I think if you know, you are about to sleep with somebody and they don't have condoms, or they're like, you know, you ask them to get condoms and they're like, I'm not getting condoms, I wouldn't even give them the time of day. Like, seriously, why should they deserve to have sex with you or sleep with you if they can't even go and buy a fucking condom? Like, seriously, you know what I mean? Like, there's nothing embarrassing, nothing weird about buying condoms. Like, it is one of the most normal things in the world. Like, you're being safe. Like, that's all you're being by buying condoms. So I feel like if somebody's refusing to buy condoms, or they just won't buy them, end of, or they don't have any, I wouldn't sleep with him. I wouldn't give him the time of day, because that says a lot about him. And there's a lot of them out there. There really are a lot of them out there that just, you know, they just don't like the condoms. Yeah, I know it mightn't feel as good, but I mean, STDs, pregnancy, get out. So I got a couple of questions about nude photos. So the first one is, how do you feel about sending sexy or nude photos? Is it okay? Okay, so my opinion on nude photos and stuff like that is kind of, you have to be able to trust this person. Like, seriously, like 120%. Like, I would not recommend sending nude photos to anybody, like just any guy, a guy you're texting, a guy you're dating, a guy you're seeing. Like, I feel like, because how can you trust someone like that? Especially a lot of the time when you're dating someone, they're probably dating other people, you could possibly be dating other people, and I just feel like in them kind of circumstances, like it's not a good thing to do, because revenge porn is huge nowadays. Like, you know what I mean? You send that to somebody and they have that forever. They have that forever. Like, that's never gone. Never, ever, ever gone. So I feel like unless you feel you could genuinely trust this person with your life, and even if things did go sour between you guys, that they still wouldn't go behind your back showing people or putting anywhere. I feel like unless you can trust them to that extent, I personally wouldn't recommend doing it. Just because the stories you even hear online of things that happen to girls from sending nude photos, and I know it could be just a pure spur of the moment thing, and you're just like, oh yeah, whatever, but you know, you kind of have to think of the consequences after and all the things that could happen down the road. So I feel like, again, it's completely up to you. Like, if that's what you want to do, go for it, but just be careful and be aware of the consequences or things that could actually happen if you guys stop seeing each other, or you know what I mean, that kind of way. I got another question about nudes, and it was like how to tell a boy/boyfriend no if they ask for nudes. Simple as no. Like, and I'm going to take that as you're saying no, but they're not taking no for an answer. And I feel like if you're saying no and they're not taking no for an answer, they don't respect you. Because if somebody's going to keep pressuring you and pushing you to do something you've just blatantly said it's not happening and you don't want to do, that is a really bad sign. Like, that is a huge red flag. Like, someone should just respect your answers straight away, not try and change your mind, not try and question you, especially with something like that. Like, seriously. And what concerns me there is if that's your boyfriend. Like, I know you're probably like, oh, but like, I'm your boyfriend. It's like, that really doesn't matter. Like, if you're my boyfriend or not, like, you know, that mightn't just be something you're comfortable doing. You know, boys are very like, oh, but like with their friends, oh, look what she sent me last night. You know what I mean? I feel like if somebody's trying to pressure you and change your mind, it's a huge red flag. And I personally, like, I've done it before. I'm just like, I'm sorry, but no. Like, I don't send nude photos, and that's the end of that, you know what I mean? And I genuinely think if you put your foot down and say no, they will have a lot more respect for you than you just being like, of course, yeah, you know what I mean? Especially if it's something you don't want to do. Okay, so the next one is how to deal with rejection when you really like someone and they just don't feel the same. Okay, rejection sucks. Like, rejection is so shit. Like, it's one of the worst things in the world. And I feel like it's something that every single person goes through at some point in their life. Like, every single person goes through it. But I feel like the best way to personally deal with rejection is, one, to realise that it's not a reflection of you and this is nothing to do with you. You know what I mean? Like, people can just be in different points of their lives. It's not what they want. They're not looking for anything with anyone. You know what I mean? It can be numerous different things. So just out of a relationship, just out of seeing someone that was very serious, you know, they have some personal reasons going on in their life. Like, rejection is never a reflection of you, and I feel like that's where a lot of us go wrong, and I certainly went wrong. Like, you know, I feel like when you get rejected, you just whoa in yourself, and you're just feeling so sorry for yourself because you feel like it's you, and then you're just beating yourself up and, you know, picking out all your flaws. And if I didn't do this, or I didn't say this, or I wasn't like this, or if I was like this, but it's not the way, like, that's not the way it is. It's not you. And I feel like that's the first thing you've got to realise. Because once you realise that, I feel like it makes the process so much easier. And then dealing with rejection, I would recommend try and start talking to someone new. Like, just get this person out of your mind, you know what I mean? You don't even have to, like, start dating them, but even just, like, talking to someone new to try and, like, you know, get that person out of your mind and have someone else on your mind. I'd say, like, just do stuff with friends. Like, really, like, occupy yourself with friends and family. Do things you love and you enjoy, like hobbies or whatever it is you love to do and makes you very happy. Do stuff like that and just try and keep yourself busy. I feel like with rejection as well, it doesn't last a very long time. Like, it's not like heartbreak. I feel like heartbreak can last years, whereas I feel like rejection normally can be a matter of weeks, you know what I mean? So I feel like you've just got to keep busy and just remind yourself it's nothing got to do with you. And I feel like that really is half the battle. Will boys care when they see you naked before sex? Honest to God, my opinion, no. Like, no, that's my answer, no. They're just happy they're getting it, like, seriously. Like, I don't think as well, like, I feel like girls are very, like, we pick out the smallest of things, you know what I mean? And boys do too. but when we don't notice them things in other people, like from me example, like the things I would notice on my body, nobody else would ever notice, ever. I feel like especially before sex, because like, you know, you're turned on, you're in the moment, like you're just enjoying yourself, like, you know what I mean, you're not just standing there like inspecting their body like, oh, what's this, what's that, like, no, they seriously won't and don't care. Yeah. Why would a boy graft you for so long and be so attentive, then panic about seriousness? Because he's immature, he doesn't know what he wants. An orbiter. Have you ever heard of an orbiter? You should look up an orbiter. When I first heard about this, it was crazy. There's a lot of guys who kind of, you know, they'll float in, and then like they'll sense something, or, you know, things are getting a bit serious, and they'll kind of orbit away, and then like they'll float back in again, if that makes sense. Especially like when boys are of a certain, like it takes so long for guys to mature. Like, so most guys are quite immature, especially when they're young. And you know, you can only mature with life experience, with relationships, with being with people and stuff, and learning about yourself, learning about other people, what you want and what you don't want. So I honestly just think he doesn't know what he wants. He's probably scared of commitment. And yeah. Like, if somebody's like that and they panic about seriousness, like, why would you want to be with someone like that? Because the person you are going to end up with is going to be so sure about you, so sure, and will never ever leave you questioning, or will never even question if they want to be with you or panic about it. And if somebody has to panic or question, you know, being with you, then they are not the person for you. And I know I've like been in a situation like that before, and it really does suck. Like, it really does suck. But, you know, they're just not in the place of their life, and they're not the one for you. They're not the one for you. You'll know, like, when it's the right person. You will know. Like, there will be no doubts. No doubts. What was the cutest thing a boy did for you / said to you? Oh my god. That is such a hard question. Oh my god. I'd say one of the nicest things a boy's ever done for me is probably drive 2 hours down to see me and then drive 2 hours home. Like, that would definitely be one of the nicest things someone has done for me, because that shows effort, you know what I mean? As I was saying earlier, like, actions over words, like, every goddamn time. And if somebody can't prove it to you with their actions, then what about it? What it means, it doesn't mean crap. It really doesn't mean crap. My long-term boyfriend never gets jealous. Should I be worried? So I honestly don't think you've anything to be worried about, because, you know, yes, some people are very jealous, extremely jealous people, but then some people aren't jealous people, and that's just the way they are. Like, jealousy is a trait in someone, you know what I mean? So I don't think that is anything to do with you or them not caring, in no ways. Because I feel like, as well, that could also just be a sign of how much they trust you. They don't feel like, you know, they have anything to be worried about or anything to get jealous over, which I think is an amazing sign, especially if you're in a long-term relationship, because that says a lot. And I feel like that is the basis of a relationship actually lasting, because if you've not got trust, you've not got anything. And I feel like if it's just jealousy going on all the time, like, yeah, a little bit of jealousy is so healthy and it's so normal, but some people just aren't jealous people. And I've been with someone before who wasn't a jealous person, and I get what you mean though, because if you've only ever been with jealous people in the past, and now you're like, what is going on? You might be very confused, but I definitely wouldn't worry about it. I think it's a very good sign, if anything, and it just shows how much he trusts you and doesn't think like, you know, he doesn't feel like he has nothing to worry about, and that, you know, because you love him and he loves you. So yeah. What should I do if a boy's pressuring me to do something I don't want to do? You get him, right? So he's here, and you go, and you keep flicking him away until you can't see him anymore. And you say, go, out. No. In all seriousness, though, nobody should ever pressure you to do anything you don't want to do. And if somebody's pressuring you to do something, like, get them out of your life. Seriously, get them out of your life. I've been pressured before, and it's really not nice. And somebody, like, they don't have respect for you. Like, if somebody's pressuring you, they don't respect you, they don't respect your decision, your, like, what you're saying, and that's not somebody you want in your life. That's not someone you want to be with, and that's definitely not somebody you want to let in your pants. I feel like that will only result in you getting hurt 100%, because, as well, like, if you're pressured and then you give in, you're just going to be a mess after. You know what I mean? Because you didn't want to do it. And you're going to feel like you were taken advantage of, and you will. you will have been taken advantage of. So yeah, I've only ever kissed a boy. How do I get over the fear of going further? Okay, well, first of all, you should never feel like you have to go further. If you don't want to go further than kissing, that is absolutely fine, and there is nothing wrong with that. And if you feel like you have to go further because that's what all your friends and stuff are doing, then that's, you know what I mean, that's not right. Like, don't feel like you have to do something just because that's what everyone else is doing. People go at their own pace, and everyone has their own pace, and everyone has their own path. So that's the first thing I want to say. So the second thing I want to say is, if it's just genuinely you do want to go further, but you're just very afraid. I feel like everyone has a huge fear of going further before they do. Like, when you've only kissed somebody and you do want to go further, obviously it's your first time. It's scary. Like, you don't know what you're doing. You know what I mean? You're worried if they've got experience, and are they going to judge you? And all this kind of stuff. So I feel like if it's just that you do, but you're just very scared, which I get, and I feel like everybody goes through that, I would honestly just say bite the bullet, because there is no way to get over that fear unless you actually just do it, especially if it is something you want to do. But I would only go further with somebody you trust, and also somebody that, you know, maybe just be honest with them. You know what I mean? And just be like, you know, I've never actually gone further with somebody, so just be patient with me, you know what I mean? And take it easy, like, be easy on me. And I feel like if you're, like, with someone you trust, I feel like if it was someone you could trust, then you could say something like that to them, you know what I mean? Especially, like, your first time doing anything else other than kissing. So yeah, I definitely just say, I'd say go for it, but don't just go for it with anybody, because you don't want to go for it with the wrong person. Do it with somebody you genuinely do like and you can trust. How to start up a conversation with a guy you like on social media. Okay, well, I've never personally done this because I don't make the first move, because I'm petrified of making a first move. Yeah. But I think the best way to start up a conversation with a guy on social media that you like is replying to something. So if you put up a story, or if you put a photo or something, send him a message, like, you know, saying something. Like, just say he put up a photo, I don't know, of whatever, like his dog, I don't know, I'm just saying something stupid, and just send him a message being like, oh my god, like, what breed is he? Like, absolutely love dogs, like, he's adorable. And then he'll reply, and then, like, you know, you'll reply and be like, oh, how are you keeping, blah blah blah. I feel like doing it in that kind of a way instead of just being like, hey, how are you, is much better, especially for girls, because it's not as direct, and I feel like us girls don't like being as direct, especially when initiating something and being the first one to make a move. So I feel like doing it in a more subtle way like that, like replying to something, is very subtle, and I feel like they wouldn't even really, you know, realise, compared to if you're just like, hey, how are you, you might seem quite keen, whereas if you're just like, oh, nice dog you got there. Jessica. So yeah, what can you do when you're in a friends with benefits relationship but he doesn't treat you with respect, apart from that everything being fine? Well, the first thing I'm going to say is respect is everything. If someone doesn't respect you, you've got nothing. Respect is the number one most important thing, in my opinion, especially in a friends with benefits situation, I feel like, because yous have an agreement that yous are just having sex and yous are nothing more, nothing less. But at the same time, he could be sleeping with loads of other people and you could be too. But, you know, if he doesn't respect you, that means he could be going off sleeping with other people without protection, and then sleeping with you without protection, or, you know, not using protection with other people, and then expecting you to, like, I don't know, give him head or whatever it is. Like, if you don't have respect, there's nothing, you know what I mean? Respect is so important, especially in a friends with benefits relationship. And I wouldn't give somebody sex and let them have that benefit if they don't even respect you as a person. Because, like, if you're sleeping with somebody, you're doing something that's so vulnerable, you know what I mean? You're just so vulnerable. And for someone to not respect you then, I feel like is dangerous. It is dangerous, because anything could happen, and you are probably going to be the one left hurt and absolutely heartbroken. So I would get out. Oh, baby girl. So guys, that was the end of my boy talk part 2. I hope you guys enjoyed this and maybe took something from it. Thank you so very much for watching. I love you all so very much, and I cannot wait to see you all in my next video. Mwah. Bye friends.